Good day, everyone. We are the Group 1 and today we will discuss to you the Chapter 2 in Reading in Philippine History, the content and contextual analysis of selected primary sources in Philippine history. In this lesson, students are expected to familiarize oneself with the primary documents in different historical periods of the Philippines. Next, to learn history through primary sources. Also, to properly interpret primary sources through examining the context and context of the document. And last, to understand the context behind each selected document. The historian's primary tool of understanding and interpreting the past is the historical sources. Using primary sources in history research entails two kinds of criticism. The first one is external criticism and the second is internal criticism. Internal criticism examines the authenticity of the document of the evidence being used, while internal criticism examines the truthfulness of the content of the evidence. A brief summary of the first voyage around the world by Magellan by Antonio Pigafetta. So who is Antonio Pigafetta? Pigafetta is a famous Italian traveler born in Vicenza, Italy around 1490 and died in the same city in 1534. Who is also known by the name of Antonio Lombardo or Francisco Antonio Pigafetta. He joined the expedition to the Spice Islands led by explorer Ferdinand Magellan under the flag of the Emperor Charles V, and after Magellan's death in the Philippine Islands. During the expedition, he served as Magellan's assistant and kept an accurate journal which later assisted him translating the Cebuano language. Pigafetta was one of the 18 men who made the complete trip, returning to Spain in 1522, under the command of Juan Sebastian Elcano. These men completed the first circumnavigation of the world. Most importantly, Pigafetta kept a journal of his voyage, and this is a key source for information about Magellan's famous journey.
Now, let us talk about the Pigafetta Chronicle. But before that, let us know who is Antonio Pigafetta. Antonio Pigafetta was an Italian scholar and explorer. He joined the expedition to the Spice Island led by explorer Ferdinand Magellan under the flag of Emperor Charles V, and after Magellan's death in the Philippine Islands, the subsequent voyage around the world. What is Pigafetta Chronicle? The Chronicle of Pigafetta was one of the most cited documents by historians who wish to study the pre-colonial Philippines. As one of the earliest written accounts, Pigafetta was seen a credible source for a period, which was prior unchronicled and undocumented. Moreover, being the earliest detailed documentation, it was believed that Pigafetta's writing account were the purest pre-colonial society. Indeed, Pigafetta's work is of great importance in the study of writing of Philippine history. Nevertheless, there needs to have a more nuanced reading of the source within a contextual backdrop. A student of history should recognize certain biases accompanying the author of his identity, loyalties, and the circumstances that he was in, and how it affected the text that he produced. In the case of Pigafetta, the reader needs to understand that he was a chronicler commissioned by a king of Spain to accompany and document a voyage intended to expand the Spanish Empire. Now, what is the importance of Pigafetta Chronicle? Pigafetta's work is important not only as a source of information about the voyage itself, but also includes an early Western description of the people and languages of the Philippines.
Good morning, everyone. I am Evangeline Aldabe from BTLED AHE1 and I will discuss about the Katipunan KKK. In 1892, Filipinos interested in the overthrow of Spanish rule founded an organization following Masonic rites and principles to organize armed resistance and terrorist assassination within a context of total secrecy. It operated as an alternative Filipino government complete with a president and cabinet. When Andres Bonifacio assumed control over the organization, it became much more aggressive. With the Grito de Balintawak, the Philippine Revolution began. Filipinos wiped up their tax and citizenship documents and started fighting through Luzon. Emilio Jacinto commanded Katipunan's troops in several decisive struggles where both sides sustained major losses. The Katipunan movement frightened the Spanish and their supporters in the country. Consequently, the authorities arrested or exiled some 4,000 rebels, not to mention the myriad execution. At this time, the Filipinos were no means united. Emilio Aguinaldo served as president of the insurgent government while Jose Rizal headed the Liga Filipina. When General Camilo de Polavea became the new Spanish military governor on December 3, 1896, he utilized the same strategy of reconcentration as did his counterpart Mariano Warley in Cuba. He also ordered the execution of Rizal and 24 others. The Spanish crackdown led to a series of victories against Andres Bonifacio and the Katipunan that Aguinaldo was quick to take advantage of at the Tejeros Convention in March 1897. To force the Katipunan into his new revolutionary government, the Katipunan was revived briefly during the insurrection against the U.S. So the Katipunan was a Philippine revolutionary society founded by anti-Spanish Filipino in Manila in 1892, whose primary aim was to gain independence from Spain through revolution. The Katipunan, officially known as the Kataas-taasan, Kagalang-galangan Katipunan ng mga anak ng bayan. That's all. Thank you.
Good day everyone. Today I am going to discuss about the Kartilya ng Katipunan. So, Kartilya can be treated as the Katipunan's code of conduct. It contains 14 rules that instructed the way a Katipunero should behave, and which specific values should be upheld. Here are the translated version of the rules in Kartilya. First is, the life is not consecrated to a lofty and reasonable purpose, is a tree without a shade, if not a poisonous weed. Second is, to do good for personal gain and not for its own sake is not virtue. Third is, it is rational to be charitable and love one's fellow creature and to adjust one's conduct, act, and words to what is itself reasonable. Fourth is, whether our skin be black or white, we are all born equal. Superiority is knowledge. Wealth and beauty are to be understood, but not superiority by nature. Fifth is, honorable man prefers honor to personal gain, thus Crudel, gain to honor. Sixth is, the honorable man, his word is sacred. The seventh rule says that, do not waste daytime. Wealth can be recovered, but not time lost. Eighth is, defend the oppressed and fight for the oppressor, before the law or in the field. Ninth is, the prudent man is sparing in word, but faithful in keeping secrets. The 10th rule says that, on the thorny path of life, man is the guide of woman and the children, and if their guide leads to the precept, those whom who guides will also sow there. 11. Thou must not look upon woman as a mere plaything, but as a faithful companion who will share with thee and penalties of life. Her physical weakness will increase. Thy interest her, and she will remind thee of the mother who bore thee and reared thee. 12. What thou dost not desire done unto thy wife, children, brothers, and sisters, that do not unto the wife, children, brothers, and sisters of thy neighbor. 13. Man is not worth more because he is a king, because his nose is aquiline, and his color is white, not because he is a priest, a servant of God. The last and 14th rule says that, when these rules of conduct shall be known to all, the longed-for son of liberty shall rise, brilliant over this most unhappy, able to perform what will be his duties. He may fill out the application for admission.
That I'm going to discuss with you this afternoon is about the content and contextual analysis of the Declaration or Proclamation of Philippine Independence. I'm giving you the analysis at the same time the important highlights of this very significant event in our history. So I will also provide the primary source and the author's background, importance, and relevance of this document with our history. So, we all know that, and we are all aware that every year the country commemorates the anniversary of Philippine Independence Proclamation during the 12th day of June. So, it was proclaimed first on June 12, 1898. Yeah, it's 1898 in the province of Cavite. So, indeed, such an event is a significant turning point in the history of the country because it signaled the end of 333 years of Spanish colonization. The declaration was a short 2,000-word document which summarized the reason behind the revolution against Spain, the war for independence, and the future of the new republic under Emilio Aguinaldo. So the author of the document is Ambrosio Rianzares Bautista, also known as Don Boschong, later translated by Sulpicio Guevara, an author born on year of 1904. He was born on December 7, 1830 at Biñan, Laguna, Captaincy General of the Philippines. The Declaration of Philippine Independence was proclaimed on June 12, 1898 in El Viejo, also known today as Kawit, Cavite, at the balcony of General Emilio Aguinaldo's residence. The declaration was signed by 98 persons.
Good day, everyone. Today I am going to discuss the political caricature of Alfred McCoy. Who is Alfred McCoy? Alfred William McCoy is an American professor of history and award-winning writer who dedicated his professional career on the research of Southeast Asian history, especially in the Philippine history as well as the study of U.S. foreign policy. McCoy has spent past 30 years writing about Southeast Asian history and politics. In his book Philippine Cartoons, Political Caricature of the American Era during 1900 to 1941, Alfred McCoy together with Alfredo Rossis compiled political cartoons published in newspaper, dailies, and periodical time period. With the help of Alfredo Rossis, the designer of the book, McCoy published Philippine Caricature. The first cartoon showed a politician from Tondo named Dr. Santos passing his crown to his brother-in-law, Dr. Barcelona. A Filipino guy wearing salakot and barong Tagalog was trying to stop Dr. Santos, telling the latter giving Barcelona the crown because it is not his to begin with. The second cartoon was a commentary on the unprecedented cases of colorum automobiles in the city streets. Cartoons, we can see Uncle Sam rationing forage to the politician and members of the Progresista Party, while the members of the Nacionalista Party look on and wait for their turn. The selected cartoons illustrate not only the opinion of certain outfits of the Philippine society during the American period, but also point a broad image of society and politics under United States. Political cartoon and caricature are a rather recent art form, which varied away from the classical art by exaggerating human features and poking fun at its subject, such as art, genre, and technique become a part of print media as a form of a social and political commentaries, which usually targets person of human and authority.
Good day, I am Lea Feberico and I will report about multi-perspectivity. Based on history education, the notion of multi-perspectivity refers to the epistemological idea that history is interpretational and subjective, with multiple coexisting narratives about particular historical events rather than history being objectively represented by one close narrative. Multi-perspectivity focuses in the following. First, it helps students to develop skills that enable them to research the past through primary and secondary sources. Second, treat all historical narratives as prejudiced and open to question. Additionally, it is important to look at topic from multiple perspectives so that we are able to see the whole picture with better enable us to find the root cause of the problem and discover a solution that takes the need and feelings of everyone involved into consideration. That's all about multi-perspectivity.
The Pigapetta Chronicle, KKK on Kartilya ng Katipunan, Proclamation of Philippine Independence, the political caricature of Alfred McCoy's and Corazon Aquino's speeches before the U.S. Congress, all of those are in content and context of credible and biased primary historical source of historical facts and evidence. Historians value primary sources because they provide insight into how historical persons comprehend or absorb what they saw, their place or significance in history, and their perspective. A full understanding of the historical context is required to comprehend the attitudes and conditions that influence the development of primary sources. If a primary source is not contextualized in time, its real meaning may be misinterpreted. A primary sources allow students to connect with the past in a more personal way, allowing them to have a better grasp in history as a sequence of human occurrences. Because a primary sources are simply bits of history, each one is a puzzle that students can only solve if new evidence is discovered. Anybody can make history. Only a great man could write it. That will be all, and thank you.